Three people were murdered in a small wooden cabin. A child was sleeping in the next room. And somehow, nobody heard anything. That's where this story stops making sense. Welcome back to The File. Tonight, let's walk through the dark together. Chapter 1. The Rot in the Woods. Narrator. To understand what happened in Cabin 28, you have to understand Keddie, California. By 1981, it wasn't a vacation destination anymore. Not really. It was a place people ended up when they were running out of options. Sue Sharp was running. She had left a turbulent marriage, 5 children, one fragile plan for a quieter life. Cabin 28 was supposed to be a temporary shelter. When I look at photos of that cabin, something always bothers me. It looks thin, exposed. Not a fortress, not even close. The walls were plywood. The neighbors were close. You could hear a car door slam 3 cabins away. So keep that in mind. The acoustics of this place matter. That Saturday night, April 11th, was supposed to be quiet. Sue was home with her sons, John and Rick, and their friend Dana. Her daughter Tina was there too. The oldest, Sheila, was spending the night at a neighbor's place. It sounds normal, doesn't it? Just a family trying to stay afloat. But that night, Keddie felt heavy. People were still moving around the resort late. The bar, the trails, the dark between the cabins. And somewhere in that darkness, eyes were watching Cabin 28. I often wonder, at what point does a home stop being a refuge and start becoming a trap? Because once the lights went out in Keddie that night, no one was coming to help. Morning comes. April 12, 1981. The sun climbs over the mountains and burns the mist away. It's 7:45 a.m. 14-year-old Sheila Sharp walks back home. She's expecting noise, a radio, coffee, someone awake. She opens the door. I'm not going to describe what she saw in detail. You don't need that. What matters is the feeling of it, the chaos, the violence, the fact that it was personal. Sue, John, Dana, they were bound, they were beaten. The rage in that room was unmistakable. But here's the detail that doesn't let go of you, the one that makes the whole story tilt sideways. In the back bedroom, the door was closed, and behind that door, 3 boys were sleeping. Rick Sharp, Greg Sharp, and their friend, Justin Smart. Alive, unharmed, just a few feet away, separated by thin walls, 3 people were being destroyed. And these kids slept? How does that make sense? Later, their stories wouldn't line up perfectly. One said he slept through everything. Justin said he saw something. Shapes, figures, a dream that didn't feel like a dream. So let me ask you something. If you were the one committing this kind of violence, why leave witnesses? Was it mercy? Was it arrogance? Or maybe they didn't know the boys were there? But that raises another problem. Because everything else in that room, the bindings, the control, the way it was done, suggests planning, not improvisation. It's a contradiction. And in investigations, contradictions are usually where the truth hides. In Cabin 28, they just lead to more darkness. As the scene was processed, names were counted. Sue, John, Dana, 1, 2, 3. But someone was missing. Tina Sharp, 12 years old. Her bed had been slept in, but she wasn't in the back room with the boys, and she wasn't in the front room with the others. She was gone. That changes everything, doesn't it? If this was a robbery, why take a child? If this was personal, why not finish it there? For 3 years, that question hung in the air. Did she run? Was she taken? Was she a witness? Or something else? In 1984, the answer came. Not in Keddie, but miles away, deep in the Plumas National Forest. A skull, a jawbone. Tina hadn't escaped. She had been executed. So why take her from the house? Why kill 3 people there and take 1 child into the wilderness? It suggests she was the target. Or She was leverage. I try to imagine that walk into the woods, and I stop. Some thoughts don't deserve to be finished. What matters is this. Whoever did this walked back to a car, drove away, and vanished. In a town that small, how did nobody see a thing? This is where the grief turns into frustration. There were suspects, real ones. Martin Smart lived in cabin 26, 2 doors down. He was the stepfather of Justin, the boy who survived the night. He was known to have a temper, a Vietnam veteran. There were rumors he was angry with Sue, that he blamed her for pushing his wife away from him. And then there was his friend John Bo Boobaday, a man with a dark past, the kind of past that follows you into small towns. Here's the part that should have stopped everything. Shortly after the murders, Martin Smart reported his hammer missing, a blue-handled claw hammer. The murders were committed with knives and hammers. Then there was the letter. Smart wrote to his wife, "I've paid the price of your love, and now that I've bought it with 4 people's lives, you tell me we are through. I've bought it with 4 people's lives." Read that again. What would you think if you were the investigator holding that letter? And yet, nothing happened. The questioning was gentle. The connections were brushed aside. Smart and Boobaday were allowed to leave town. Why? Was it incompetence? Comfort? Or that quiet human instinct to not see what's standing right in front of you? The files grew cold. Evidence was mishandled. Tips went nowhere. It feels like Keddie didn't want answers. It wanted silence. Decades pass. Trees grow. People forget. But the ground remembers. In 2016, a man with a metal detector walked near a pond not far from Keddie. He found a hammer. A rusted, blue-handled claw hammer. The same kind Martin Smart said he had lost. It had been there the whole time, waiting. By then, both Smart and Boobaday were dead. So ask yourself this. What does justice mean when the truth shows up too late? What if you can walk into a cabin, destroy a family, walk out, and spend the rest of your life growing old? That's the real horror of Keddie. Not just what happened, but what didn't happen afterward. The silence of the neighbors, the silence of the boys in the back room, the silence of the investigation, and now, the silence of the grave. Cabin 28 is gone, demolished. There's only grass and dirt where it once stood. You could walk right past it and never know what happened there. We like to believe evil is rare, an exception, an accident. But when I look at the story of Sue, John, Dana, and Tina, I'm left with a colder thought. The person who did this didn't disappear. He lived among people. Maybe he stood in line at a store. Maybe he waved at neighbors. The woods of Keddie are quiet tonight, but it's not a peaceful quiet. It's the quiet of a secret that was kept for far too long. And sometimes, the silence is the loudest sound of all.
This case is over, but the truth is not. The next story is already waiting, and it's darker than you think. Stay with NightCase Chronicle. I'll see you in the next case.